Tonight, a local footy league and Port Augusta Council butt heads over gate fees as the footy pre-season gets underway, and fears Broken Hill court cases could be delayed if a key justice position is scrapped.
This is Southern Cross News with Fraser Goldsworthy.
Good evening. A feud over gate fees has erupted just as the region's footy pre-season begins. The Spencer Gulf Football League and Port Augusta Council are at loggerheads over holding games at Central Oval.
Costs of running football that are way out of the league.
And we could survive on the income from Port Pirie, providing Port Augusta wasn't absorbing all of our income that was generated at Pirie.
The Spencer Gulf Football League held a public meeting last night at the very place causing all of its woes. In 2015, the league agreed to use council's new multi-million-dollar facility and to dish the gate fees back to council in return.
What is quite clear is that they need funds for the Port Augusta operation here. Council's been very considerate. This facility is cost-free. We don't charge a cent for any use of this facility. But
SGL officials say it's no longer a financially viable agreement.
And then again, we end up with no clubs, and where does it leave the other sports that rely on sponsorship from the SGL clubs for their sports?
The league's president says it costs around $15,000 to hire ovals in Port Pirie, but here it misses out on $60,000 in gate fees every year. They're funds that go directly to the Port Augusta City Council. Yet the council says the league should review its business plan and charge players subsidies to play.
I did encourage last night that the SGL come and present to the elected members at a council meeting and put up their case where they were, where they are and where they want to be. And then the council can take their direction from that.
A lot of chatter about the other associations that the players pay a subsidy to play, and football doesn't. Well, none of those none of those sporting bodies have changed their ways at all. But they want us to change our ways.
The council has asked the league to present its case at the next council meeting. Amelia Simpson, Southern Cross News.
There are fears court cases held in Broken Hill will be delayed if the region is left without a full-time magistrate. Local lawyers are concerned a fly-in, fly-out roster of magistrates will lead to a massive backlog in the justice system.
For the last 3 months, Broken Hill Local Court has been run by a relieving magistrate who also serves Wilcannia and Wentworth every month. Since then, concerns have been raised over the potential decision to abolish the position in Broken Hill altogether. Justice advocates say dozens are already waiting to have their matter heard in court. It's feared reducing sitting days and flying in magistrates would only lengthen the process.
It's going to be an appalling situation, and it seems to be that the New South Wales government is now saying to people out in far west New South Wales, we don't care about funding your justice.
Lawyers claim justice delayed is justice denied.
The full-time magistrate in Broken Hill is a man who would be well aware of local issues and how locals see things, and certainly magistrate will be considering those things when he makes decisions and hands out penalties in criminal matters.
The New South Wales Department of Justice says there are no plans to abolish the position here in Broken Hill. It says a property owned by the department where magistrates reside during their tenure requires significant upgrades and is resorting to this temporary solution while it investigates a permanent resolution to the issue. But lawyers are calling for the State Attorney General to end the issue sooner rather than later.
You can't go penny pitching in relation to justice. If anything, far west New South Wales need another magistrate, either full-time or part-time, but they shouldn't be taking away the existing full-time magistrate.
Patrick Ryanke, Southern Cross News.
3 Whyalla residents have been reported after a number of cannabis plants were found across town. On Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday last week, officers conducted raids on 3 homes in Whyalla Norrie and Whyalla Stewart. A number of plants were found, as well as an amount of dried cannabis. A 53-year-old woman, 37-year-old man and 52-year-old man have all been reported over the separate incidents. Police say the raids were the result of calls from the community to Crime Stoppers. Whyalla Council has agreed on a design for the town's new jetty. It'll feature a unique circular feature, and Council says the old structure won't be going to waste.
Whyalla, meet your new jetty. In a radical transformation, the new design features a T-junction and circular walkway through the middle.
Council is genuinely excited about the opportunity to be able to respond to what the community's first preference was, which was for this circular jetty.
The favoured design has been put to contractors for final costings. It's hoped the unique feature will attract more members of the public to use the jetty.
Walking, general recreation, exercise, fishing particularly. And also, let's not forget scuba divers or snorkelers.
And while it's in with the new, the old may not necessarily be chucked out. Council is investigating sinking the disused jetty and turning it into an artificial reef for marine life.
Fish for the recreational fisher people, but also for the scuba diving and snorkelling community, broaden the appeal for people to visit Whyalla.
However, the clock is ticking for Council to have it ready by December. 9 months out, work has yet to begin. While it's a tight squeeze, Council is sticking to the end-of-year target.
A tough push, John. I won't back away from that, but we are going to do everything in our power to deliver it.
John Hunt, Southern Cross News.
A man has faced court over an alleged break-in and assault last week. At about 6 a.m. last Tuesday, an 82-year-old woman was woken by someone breaking into her home. The man allegedly assaulted her before fleeing the scene. The woman wasn't seriously injured. Police managed to track down the 23-year-old man from Whyalla Stuart and arrested him. He was charged with aggravated criminal trespass, aggravated assault and property damage. The Mayor of Broken Hill, Daria Turley, has nominated to stand as Labor's candidate for the seat of Barwon at the next New South Wales state election. She says she did so, citing the region's current dissatisfaction with the Nationals Party. Labor needs a 12.5% swing to win the seat in March next year. The party will announce the successful candidate for the seat in a few weeks. After the break, local artists band together to liven up the town of Warrabra. That's next. The state's new energy minister says he'll be reviewing the former Labor government's energy promises in the coming weeks. Dan Van Holst Pelican has warned the new Liberal government isn't obliged to carry commitments over if they're not already signed and sealed.
No signature, no guarantee. The Libs say that not all of Labor's cash promises for the region's energy projects will make the cut.
Any announcements or plans or intentions that the previous government had, but they did not actually contract, the new government is not obliged to follow through with those.
Yet the region's re-elected member for Stuart and the Minister for Energy says anything unsigned will be up to the Libs' discretion.
There's a time-honoured tradition when government does change that any actual contracts that the previous government have entered into, the new government honours.
With local concern the sought-after solar thermal project will fall through, the region is being assured there's always been support for the project.
I'm quite sure that those contracts are in place. Solar Reserve have an office in Adelaide and an office in Port Augusta, and they're well underway. I have no intention of changing that whatsoever.
While the Energy Minister says it's too early to tell whether the new government will honour Labor's commitments to the Port Augusta battery and Whyalla's Steelworks solar farm, discussions will still be held. For now, Mr Van Holst Pelican will focus on rolling out the Libs' energy plan.
But I certainly know that as Minister for Energy and Mining, I will be judged on the results and power prices in South Australia.
Amelia Simpson, Southern Cross News.
The Menindee pipeline in the far west will soon cease operating. Activists say properties which rely on the line will be left high and dry and are calling on the state government to resolve the issue quickly.
As one pipeline comes together, another is on its last legs. 10 properties between Menindee and Broken Hill will lose their access to water from the dilapidated pipeline when it's decommissioned next year. Water activists are fuming.
That's really not good enough. The state government gave a commitment that those people would be receiving water, and people from Broken Hill shouldn't have to pay for them to receive that water.
The state government's hit back, saying decommissioning the pipeline was always part of the plan. Meanwhile, communities in the Sunset Strip and Menindee will be supplied using a new pipeline from the Menindee Lakes. A new treatment plant is also in the works.
The state government should ensure that all those property owners have the same access to water they had before they decommissioned their pipeline.
Essential Water is meeting with property owners that rely on the pipeline to discuss a resolution to the problem.
They're talking about a feasibility study to see which is the most economical. I'd say it'd probably end up being tanked water, which is going to be rather expensive for all those properties, and it's certainly going to be an inconvenience to them.
Patrick Reinke, Southern Cross News.
The small town of Werrabra is in for a hit of artistic flair. Local artists have begun creating a trail of sculptures reflecting the town's native wildlife population.
Bringing life back into the small town of Werrabra.
It's to bring some joy to the town, which it has been struggling for a while.
We're looking at injecting some life back into the town and give people that visit here something to get involved with and look at.
Local artists gathered today to learn how to sculpt native animals and other life-size objects, all out of chicken wire.
Every one of them is going to have a go at a small sculpture. A couple of them are going to do a bird, so there's two. One's going to do a Wedge-Shire eagle.
This sculpture trail will start at Wongabiri Park and line the Rocky River cycling and walking track.
There'll be 8, and since then 3 sculptors have come forward and asked could they donate their sculptures to the town too.
Big boomer, kangaroo, 8 foot tall, with a kookaburra on his shoulder. Go out on his feet maybe, and then something else around him.
Country Arts has agreed to fund the project. It's hoped the new sculptures will become a tourist attraction for the town.
This project cost $3,200 for materials and the artist.
Rachel Nell, Southern Cross News.
In the news ahead, the young Mid-North fashion designer looking to her hometown for support as she looks to showcase her work on the world stage. That's next. A Mandurah fashion designer is hoping residents in her hometown will support her dreams of seeing her work on the world stage. Torianne Gill is holding a fundraiser in Port Broughton this weekend in a bid to raise funds for her trip to the Paris Fashion Week.
High-end fashion often comes with a hefty price tag, and for 23-year-old Tori, a trip to Paris to showcase her designs on the catwalk during Fashion Week is no cheap exercise.
It's going to be costing me around $30,000, so I need to raise the money to help me get my label on the runway at Paris.
This weekend she'll be teaming up with local models to reveal her entire collection called Dark Thorn, in a bid to raise some of that money.
I'm very Victorian era inspired, very classic inspired, classic lines, classic fabrics, timeless pieces. My original t-shirts that I first ever printed at the start, so it's kind of like showing where I started from, and then the models are going to come out in my current stuff.
Dark Thorn will be featured alongside other emerging labels, as well as Gucci and Chanel at next year's Paris Fashion Week.
There is a showroom that goes for the whole week, which my clothes will be in as well. Like hearing people say, like, oh, you're putting Mandurah on the map, that's a pretty big achievement.
For more information about this weekend's fundraiser, head to our Facebook page. Rachel Nell, Southern Cross News.
Over 100 students from Catholic schools across the Gulf have descended on Whyalla for the local athletics championships. Both teachers and students say representing their schools is a great honour and were keen to do their communities proud today.
It's one of the biggest days on the school calendar, with the region's most elite athletic students coming together.
All the field events you'd expect, track events, and it's a pretty big honour for some of these children to actually be named Spencer Golf Champion.
The day rotates annually between St Joe's in Port Lincoln, Caritas in Port Augusta, St Mark's in Port Pirie, and this year's host, Whyalla Samaritan College. Participants are picked from their school sports days, with the winners eventually competing in Adelaide at the state Catholic titles.
Records still from 1977 that are still yet to be broken, so it's plenty of pride online to be the 100 metre or the 1500 metre champion, for example.
Mr Judd has thanked the public school Ware High for stepping in and allowing them to use their ovals at short notice.
We're very lucky that Edward John Eyre High School have agreed to let us share their oval, so we're very grateful and thankful.
For the kids, today is about representing and supporting their school with pride.
Good to be outside and representing your school.
Winning for your school, make the team's proud.
Even if you're not that great at running, you've always got some people looking out for you.
Today's champs were St Mark's of Port Pirie. John Hunt, Southern Cross News.
Time now for the last of our cricket tips. Here's Andrew Frick from Port Lincoln.
Welcome to this week's Port Lincoln Cricket Tips, and it's grand final week here in Port Lincoln, and it's going to be a huge weekend of cricket. The Tasman Cricket Club have all three teams in grand finals this weekend, and they'll be looking for a couple of big wins and celebrate what's been a good season. They played Southern Air South in the A-grade at Centennial Oval. Southern Air have been the red-hot form team all year, but I'm going to tip my boys Tasmans to get over the line. In the B-grade, Tasmans and Southern Air do battle again, and I reckon this will be a really good game of cricket. Going to tip Tassies to get over the line here as well. And in the final game, Colts, Tasmans and Waybacks out at Ravendale. Can't go past my boys. It's a clean sweep for Tasmans, and thank you for listening to the Port Lincoln Cricket Tips.
Stay with us after the break. Local weather details with Amy. And Amy, what's in store for the Spencer Golf this weekend?
It's going to be a warm weekend around the Spencer Golf, Fraser, before cooling down slightly as we start the next working week. I'll have all the details next. The mercury continued to rise today. 34 the top in Port Augusta, 32 in Whyalla and 31 in Adelaide. Meanwhile, in all other centres, temperatures sat in the high 20s to low 30s. Checking the satellite, and showers and storms in the state's far southeast. The high pressure system over South Australia is continuing to keep skies clear elsewhere. If you're planning to spend some time on the waters over the weekend, there will be southerly winds up to 20 knots, seas will reach 1 metre and the sun will rise at 7:24. Taking a look at tomorrow's weather, and it's going to be a very warm start to the weekend. 37 in Port Augusta, meanwhile Port Lincoln can expect a milder 27, 35 in Port Perry, while the Bureau predicts temperatures will continue to range from the mid-20s to mid-30s in all other districts. Looking towards the start of the new working week, and Port Lincoln can expect some showers before 25 on Tuesday. Temperatures will also sit in the mid-20s in Cleve, while a sunny 29 is expected in Woodner early next week. Further up the Gulf, and temperatures in Whyalla will also rise to 28 on Tuesday. Meanwhile, Port Augusta and Kadina can also expect temperatures in the high 20s after showers over the weekend. The warmer weather is expected in Port Pirie also early next week, and a top of 27 on Tuesday. After possible showers, Clare will reach 25. Meanwhile, the sunny weather is set to continue in Broken Hill with a top of 28. So Fraser, while it will be another hot weekend, the Spencer Golf can expect another autumn change to kick off the start of next week.
We'll take advantage of all the sun we can get. Thanks, Amy. A look at tonight's top stories now. A feud over gate fees has erupted just as the region's footy pre-season begins. The Spencer Golf Football League and Port Augusta Council are at loggerheads over holding games at Central Oval. There are fears court cases held in Broken Hill will be delayed if the region is left without a full-time magistrate. Local lawyers are concerned a fly-in, fly-out roster of magistrates will lead to a massive backlog in the justice system. And Whyalla Council has agreed on a design for the town's new jetty. It'll feature a unique circular feature, and Council says the old structure won't be going to waste. And that's the news to now. Thanks for your company. I'll have some updates a little later. Until then though, enjoy your evening. Good night.